Welcome to Giratina's League. You're just playing in it. Hey, my handsome ladies and gentlemen, this is Shmeaty. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. Very seldom do we see a Pokemon drop, and it is immediately top meta. However, what were we expecting from Giratina Altered in the Great League? Giratina Altered arrives to the Great League and proves itself to be a top meta contender on day one of its release, and I cannot stress enough, I am not exaggerating, this Pokemon is an absolute menace, and these battles are going to show you why. Let's go ahead and take a look at this 24-6 run that I had in the Open Great League. We're going to be leading Corviknight into Superior, and Superior wants nothing to do with that matchup, and so we'll immediately save switch into Furret. Furret, also, its charge moves are completely walled by the Corviknight, and they are going to be looking to fire off a move here. I cannot really afford to switch out of the Corviknight matchup here, as unfortunately, the Furret is going to give my two Ghosts in the back line a little bit of trouble. I am running Dragon Breath on my Shadow Giratina, and that is for a very good reason. I think in this first match, I ran Shadow Claw, and then immediately was like, oh my god, what if I see a normal type? Let me switch that. And so we decided to go for Dragon Breath for the rest of the games, but I will say it largely does depend on your team composition and what your goals with running your specific team are. That'll generally be what dictates your Giratina moveset. Anyway, Shadow Sableye comes in, gets the farm down of the Furret. Furret is now going to go down. In comes Shadow Drapion. Drapion is going to get outpaced, and a Power Gem is going to land onto them. They overfarm too much and play into a losing CMP tie versus the Sableye. Sableye is going to reach that foul play, force a shield from the Drapion, and now I am going to be able to no-shield this move. Shadow Sableye is going to no-shield. It's an Aqua Tail, gets us into the red, but not quite low enough. I am, for some reason, on Shadow Claw. The Superior gets switched in and realizes there is no winning that game. GG's. Next game, Corviknight leads into Altaria. Altaria is going to switch into Shadow Talonflame, and Shadow Talonflame's HP bar is... it did exist at one point. Where did half of it go? Giratina is going to no-shield the fly, and now I'm going to fire off a Dragon Claw here. I don't think I live this Incinerate, so I'm going to fire off a Dragon Claw after what could have been an Ancient Power, but they let go of the Talonflame. You know what? I'm not going to complain about that. If they bring in the Altaria, I'm probably going to get farmed down. They instead decide to get an energy head start with their Typhlosion, and this is going to be a little tricky of a game for me to win. Typhlosion's building up quite a lot of energy here. It would appear that my opponent hasn't realized what my win con here is. I'm going to, of course, force a shield with my foul play since they're letting me do so, but Sableye's job here was never to come in and shield a bunch of moves. I'm going to take all the Shadow Claw damage they can give me, and now the Typhlosion, is now in farm down range. They are going to be forced to switch out as they burned all of their energy there. I believe there were one Incinerate from another Thunder Punch, but they would have gotten farmed down in the process. They're going to bring back in the Altaria, but that's going to get hit with an Iron Head, and Iron Head does connect for some pretty not meaningful damage. That honestly didn't do any damage. Altaria is very bulky. It has been pushed out of meta contention because its pacing is absolutely terrible, and it kind of just doesn't ever get to move, so you can kind of like look at an Altaria, point at it and laugh, and close your eyes for 3 minutes, and you can come back to your game and it still wouldn't have reached a charge move. So unfortunately for Altaria, it has been very far pushed from the meta. They try to snipe with an Incinerate on the Typhlosion, hoping to get me a little bit lower. That is not to be. Getting into the next game, Corviknight leading into Shadow Scizor, and I actually found out how to play this matchup out from playing this particular game. So they're going to go for the Night Slash immediately, as most will, and if they get a boost on the first, you might just be just ever so slightly cooked. But if they don't get a boost on the first, what Corviknight is allowed to do is play this matchup out to its entirety. I always go for the Iron Head bait there, to be completely honest. I don't think there's a Scizor in existence that is going to no-shield a Corviknight move. They are going to switch in their Jellicent And this is not just any Sableye. This is a rank 1 Sableye, and as you're going to see, this Surf is not going to put us anywhere near a range where we are going to get farmed down by the Hexes. So I'm going to fire off this Foul Play, and if they want to give me a shield, that's perfectly fine. They're opting to let go of the Jellicent. Whatever they do here, I'm in a pretty decent position, as I should be able to reach a Foul Play versus pretty much anything. And they are going to bring back in the Scizor. Scizor is going to have a pretty decent time farming us down, but Corviknight does have loaded energy. I can bring back in the Corviknight if I so choose, or I can bring in the Giratina. I go for the charge move on the Corviknight. Unfortunately, they are going to catch it onto Cradle. However, I decide to get just a little bit too greedy here, and I am not going to be able to make an Iron Head before getting farmed down there. That would have made my life a lot easier, but now I have to bring in Giratina. Giratina is going to get hit with Rock Tomb number 1, and Rock Tomb number 2 is going to connect before we're able to make our charge move. This is very difficult for me. Rock Tomb number 2, as you can see, doing quite a bit of damage there. I am going to go for the Dragon Claw on the CMP tie. And we are now -3 with the Giratina. I think I have to attempt to switch, but I can't even switch. It's a CMP tie, of course. So Dragon Claw should be able to get the KO on the Cradle. From here I switch out, and they are going to get the farm down, but I have a shield and more than 1 HP. So a Dragon Claw onto this Scizor should be just enough to KO, and indeed it is. GG's to this trainer. What a truly terrific lead once again. This was all consecutive matches. Corviknight yesterday, at least from the 2500s to the 2700s, was picking up every single lead in existence. They are going to safe switch into a Jellicent, and we have the perfect response with the rank 1 Shadow Sableye. Once again, I'm just not afraid of taking any energy from this Jellicent. You can go for the Surf, that's not going to be enough to KO. I'm going to fire off one more Shadow Claw and a Foul Play, and do you want to drop one shield and lose switch, or do you want to drop both shields for switch advantage? They are going to drop both shields for switch advantage. You know what? They really want to fight for switch here, so let me not let them do that. I'm going to look to make my next move. I'm firing off this move on 3. No matter what comes in, nothing really wants to no-shield a Shadow Foul Play from the Shadow Sableye, and that still does a hefty amount of damage onto the incoming Jumpluff. That's actually a fortunate amount of chip damage, and the reason why I say that is because Jumpluff is now in a range where the Sky Attack will KO. Unfortunately, from full, Shadow Jumpluff does live the Sky Attack, and it's not as if the Sand Attacks are going to be doing any meaningful damage, as they are triple resisted. Going for the Sky Attack onto the Jumpluff, they are going to get KO'd there, bringing back in the Jellicent. Jellicent is going to be able to connect with a Shadow Ball or Surf. I'm going to no-shield it, and I am able to survive. Unfortunately, I played into the CMP, and I am going to actually charge it. I decided at the last second I need that Jellicent gone. In the back, it's going to be Clodsire, and there is simply nothing Clodsire can do. Clodsire can fire off Earthquake, but it'll never put Giratina in a range where it's going to be able to farm us down. So I'm always just going to no-shield this move. I really don't care if they send the Earthquake or not. I don't care if they suddenly have access to Dark Pulse. It's not going to KO. I'm going to fire off the Dragon Claw onto the Clodsire, getting them ever so slightly lower, and from here I would realize this is a top leftable offense, and it seems my opponent does the same. Getting into the next one, Corviknight is going to lead into a Gligar. If you guys remember a year ago, when there was a Skarmory on your Gligar, you were very sad, and that is a little bit even more the case now, and the reason being is because now, oh my goodness, the catch of the Hydro Cannon onto the Shadow Giratina. Most Blastoise are going to be on Skull Bash plus Hydro Cannon, so I feel like this is a pretty safe bring-in. I'm going to fire off my Dragon Claw before they're able to make a potential Ice Beam, because that would be truly embarrassing if I get Ice Beamed and one-shot. Speaking of getting Ice Beamed and one-shot, I am going to call a bait here. If this is not an Ice Beam, I'm not going to get KO'd, and it's just going to be the Hydro Cannon. That is the standard moveset for the Blastoise in the Great League, so I am going to operate based off of that assumption, and it turns out to pay off. Giratina is able to get the Dragon Breath farm down onto the Blastoise, and now back in comes non-Shadow Gligar. Like I said earlier, Gligar is not going to be having too much of a fun time up against a Corviknight, because its fast move is now double resisted as opposed to single resisted when it used to run Wing Attack up against the Skarmory. Gonna fire off an Iron Head onto the well, that was meant for the Gligar. Unfortunately, it was connected onto a Greninja, and here I'm no-shielding. If this is a Hydro Cannon, it's going to do a lot. It's a Hydro Cannon, it does a lot. And now I'm going to fire off a Foul Play onto the Greninja. Shadow Claws are adding up quite a bit here, and I think I might just be able to make a last-second Foul Play. I do not deserve that move whatsoever. That was damage registration error, but because this game has still not been fixed and Worlds is approximately 4 days away, I'm able to get that move. Nevertheless, I'm going to shield up here. It is the Night Slash bait, but there's just nothing the Greninja is going to be able to do here. Even if the Night Slash boosted into the Hydro Cannon, I believe I still would have been able to live. We get the full Sand Attack farm down, and Gligar can come in, but if it's short of a dig here, they are just not going to be able to pick up the knockout on the Corviknight. I think even a dig would be a stretch. We're going to be able to land a second Iron Head here, and Gligar is going to get KO'd. GG's. You know what? I must have just decided to lead the right Pokemon today, as Corviknight leads into a Cradle, and everybody is leading very soft to Corviknight. They are going to switch out and bring in their Scizor, but I don't have to shield this Scizor move. I am going to no shield. It is going to be the Night Slash, as I sincerely doubt they were going to Trailblaze me there. Fortunately, the Scizor does not get the boost, and unfortunately, 2 of my 6 losses with this team were from Scizors that got Night Slash boosts. Nevertheless, I am going to be able to no-shield this move because they are not boosted. I live on just about 1 HP and make a last-second Sky Attack up against the Scizor. Scizor now forced to drop both shields, and now we're just bringing in Sableye, looking for the very aggressive farm down. Sableye up energy is very, very potent and pretty scary into pretty much anything you can think of in this meta. Scizor not able to make a second move, they get farmed down, in comes the Cradle, and Cradle is on Acid, which is resisted by the Ghost typing on Sableye. And Sableye is able to take these Acids no problem at all. We have a shield, and this is a CMP tie. This is going to be a Foul Play, which is going to connect onto the Cradle. Cradle is going to be able to make a Rock Tomb. However, if they stay in, I'm going to farm them down. I'm actually going to shield up the Rock Tomb. They're going to bring in G-Sola. G-Sola is going to get hit with this Foul Play, and although this is going to be a debuff Foul Play, it's still a very impactful amount of damage, as now Giratina can come in, easily tank a Night Slash. I am in no fear of this Night Slash KOing, and now there's just too much health on my team. Despite how low I might look, there's just too much HP on my team for the G-Sola and Cradle combo to get rid of. Cradle's going to come in and just get Dragon Breath down. GG's to this trainer. Yeah, I definitely just picked the right Pokemon to lead. I can't promise that the lead luck is going to be the same for everybody, but Corviknight is absolutely feasting on these teams. We've got a Marowak lead followed by a Drapion safe switch. Both of these Pokemon do not do particularly well into Corviknight. Corviknight going to no-shield the Crunch #1, as a potential debuff would be more impactful later on. I'm going to fire off an Iron Head onto the Drapion, hoping to grab a shield. I am not able to grab a shield, but that's fine by me. They're going to fire off another move here, and now I'll shield up. I think with this shield, I should be able to commit to a Sand Attack farm down, especially when my opponent does not commit to the Crunch. They are just going to settle for the Aqua Tail damage here, and I'm going to be able to get this Sand Attack farm down. I think they actually would have made the Crunch, which is a little unfortunate for them, but no matter what they bring in, I have nearly 100 energy on this Corviknight. I'm going to stay in here. I think I need to maintain my switch advantage here, and actually, I opt to do something different. I throw one Sand Attack and then bring in Sableye. I commit to just throwing the Foul Play immediately because that is 12 turns, and since they already had one Ice Shard land, that is going to be their 5th Ice Shard after 12 turns. So I am going to be able to play into a CMP tie with the Dugong, fire off yet another Foul Play, and they actually shield up the first Foul Play because it's going to do more damage than this now debuffed one. They're now going to bring in the Marowak, not able to make a move with the Shadow Sableye, unfortunately, but I am going to now have to bring in Giratina, and Giratina is going to have to do some heavy lifting. Giratina going for the Dragon Breath up against the Marowak. I go for the CMP sack swap up against the Marowak. I think I get it successfully, but I am going to lose that CMP tie. So down goes my Corviknight, and now I am going to look to no-shield this move. This is very intentional. I don't have a shield remaining, right, if I shield up this Bone Club, so I have to live this. My only win con is living the Mud Slap fast move pressure. Then when Dugong comes in, I can shield their move when they do throw it. I go for the Dragon Claw Dragon Claw is going to grab the shield, and now Dragon Claw number 2, since we left doubled up, we're going to be able to pick up the knockout on the Dugong. GG's to this trainer. Corviknight definitely has its day on easy mode, leading into a Shadow Jumpluff. Shadow Jumpluff can play that matchup out pretty closely, but once again, another team hopelessly weak to the Corviknight, as they are going to safe switch into Drapion. Corviknight, very good response to Drapion. They're going to fire off a crunch that does less than 50%. So we are very happy to just fire off this Iron Head, and it is a CMP tie. The Drapion is best neutralized here. I would much rather see it here than having it crunch my 2 ghost types in back. So I am very happy to no shield 2 crunches. I'm looking for the farm down here, and I am nearly going to be able to get it. Unfortunately, I knew they were going to make an Aqua Tail there. I just didn't do anything about it and throw my move. I do have some energy loaded here. They're going to bring in the Jumpluff, and for some reason, I go for the Iron Head bait. I don't think this allows me to make another move, and they are going to bring in a Morpeko. But now that they brought in Morpeko, this is fine. We're just going to bring in the Giratina, and Giratina is going to have a very fun time farming down the Morpeko after no-shielding the Electric Aura Wheel. And now they've got the Dark Aura Wheel, so if they make it, I'll shield it. They are going to fire off Aura Wheel Dark, and I actually no-shield. I think they only went for the Psychic Fangs. Either that or I called a bait. Honestly, I forget, but I was on a hot streak this game, bringing in the Sableye, getting the farm down before they make the next move, and now bringing back in the Jumpluff. Jumpluff, you've got to respect the potential power gem here. Are we going to grab a shield with the sneaky foul play bait? Indeed we are. Giratina has a lot of loaded energy, and we're going to be able to fire off yet another foul play. Right now, Sableye's job is just continuing the charge move pressure up against the Jumpluff because they are quite low. And if they decide to no-shield moves, then Giratina can come in and potentially Dragon Breath down, as we do have a shield. They fire off an Aerial Ace. That's not going to be enough. Back in comes the Giratina, and Giratina's got the Dragon Claw loaded. So that'll be a GG well played to this trainer. Down goes Jumpluff, and Giratina is standing strong. Getting into the next game, leading Corviknight into Diggersby. Now, this is actually a very awkward Pokemon for us to see. Diggersby, unfortunately, does pretty well into all 3 of the Pokemon on this team, and I am going to no-shield the first Fire Punch with the Corviknight, and look to potentially catch the second onto Giratina. And that is exactly what we do. We are able to catch the opposing trainer playing basically on autopilot and just sending that Fire Punch as soon as they get it. They're now going to bring in Regidrago, and Regidrago, I was so confident that I was going to live this move, and spoiler alert, let's just say that confidence was misplaced as the Breaking Swipe KOs. And that is pretty unfortunate for me, but now we can bring in the Corviknight. I overfarm well past 100 energy for some reason, and now I'm going to go for the Sky Attack to pick up the knockout on the Regidrago. They are now going to bring in Diggersby. Diggersby is going to potentially be able to reach another Fire Punch, and Corviknight's pretty low here. I don't think I can afford to no-shield 2 more Fire Punches. I know I can live 1. They are going to fire off the move here. Corviknight is chipping away at the Diggersby ever so slowly. There goes the Fire Punch, and now I'm going to go for the Sky Attack. Sky Attack onto the Diggersby will do a sizable amount of damage here, and now the fact that they allowed me to get all this damage off is excellent for me. They're going to bring in the Scizor, and oh man, I think I remember this game. I'm going to shield up. The Scizor gets the Night Slash boost, and this is going to be one of our 6 losses, unfortunately. There's nothing I can do here. They're going to be able to bullet punch me down, thanks in large part to that debuff, but it is what it is. We're going to get taken out here. GG's to this trainer. That's unfortunately luck of the draw, and there's just not a whole lot I can do about that one. GG's. Getting into the next game, it's going to be Corviknight leading into Magcargo. And here, I think we should always safe switch the Sableye, and that's exactly what we do. I threw 1 Sand Attack there, and unfortunately that means that they are going to be able to outpace. I could have potentially gotten a free Shadow Claw if I just decided to just switch and then bring in Sableye. Unfortunately, that is not how I played it out. They're going to bring in a Dragonite, and this is very confusing to me. They're going to shield up the foul play. They didn't call the bait properly. They could have lived the debuff foul play, but now I'm going for the Power Gem. Power Gem knocks out the Dragonite, and now they're probably going to bring back in the Magcargo because they can just get a free Incinerate KO here, and unfortunately, they're going to be able to make 2 Incinerates out of that farm down. I'm bringing in Giratina. Giratina is going to no-shield a Rock Tomb. because honestly I could take this energy a lot better here than on my Corviknight, because if they overheated my Corviknight, I would be in a terrible spot. We've now got the Shadow Ghost types battling it out on this new battlefield. You love to see it. This actually looks really, really cool, and I hope to see more stuff like this in the future. Bringing in the Corviknight into the Annihilate. Annihilate cannot afford to no-shield a move here, so I am going to build up to just before their next Rage Fist and fire off another Iron Tide. If they shield this, fine. If they no-shield this, fine. I pretty much should be able to take this dub regardless, and on 1 HP, Corviknight is going to be able to make an Iron Head to KO the Annihilate. Now back in comes the Magcargo. No matter what they do here, they're not going to be able to KO the Giratina. The opponent realizes that, and that'll be a GG. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. Shadow Giratina was a ton of fun to run, and my ELO had a whole lot of fun running Shadow Giratina as well, as I was sitting around the 2500 for like the past 3 weeks, and now I just suddenly had a big burst and got all the way to 2735, and that was all in one night, about a 230 point climb with Shadow Giratina. But don't just take it from me, all the content creators are talking about it. Shadow Giratina is insanely strong and is a very solid Pokemon to add to your Great League repertoire. I certainly recommend that you go out and battle Giovanni this rotation and make sure that you TM Frustration off of this Pokemon before the rotation ends. With that being said, would I recommend this specific team? Corviknight was a very strong lead for me, and it actually provided a lot of value into the teams that I was seeing. I can't speak for everybody, I don't know if that would be everybody's experience, but I saw Corviknight and Giratina forming a very strong core, Sableye just being clutch as ever as well. I think this is a good team. The only thing I would caution against is if you are seeing a fair amount of Degene, maybe put this team on the back burner and save it for ELO ranges where you're not seeing so much Degene. If you guys want an alternative that's not as soft to Degene, in case you're seeing that a lot, I would certainly recommend Fortress. Fortress is a very solid pick as well. Unfortunately, Diggersby is still going to give you quite a bit of trouble, but no team is perfect. With all that being said, I've been Shmeaty. Thanks once again so much for watching. I've rambled on long enough now, so I hope you guys have found enjoyment in today's video. Feel free to let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. I've been Shmeaty. I hope to see you all again next time, and have a good rest of your day. See ya.